I'd say there are two main skills you need to master to feel confident with typography. One of them is choosing the right typeface or typefaces for your project, and the second one is styling the text. Every other skill is heavily dependent on these two. This module will focus on the first skill. When thinking about what typeface to use, there's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself. The worst thing you could do is just dive into your fonts folder or font book and start looking. It's often aimless and takes forever, and it's not an efficient way to choose the right font or fonts for your project. The first thing I suggest doing is listing all the requirements and goals of the project. What's the purpose? What kind of a project is it? How will it be used? All of this can help you identify some important features the chosen typeface needs to have. Is this project more about presenting the brand or a particular product or service? Will people have to read a lot? Is it more visual or interactive? What's the main action you expect from people using this product? What problems does it solve for them? List down the answers to these questions. Identify some main attributes you can use to narrow down your search. Who will use it? Who is your main audience? You won't use the same typeface for an audience primarily made of teenagers and that one that's primarily made of seniors. Same choice might not work for different cultures or locations. Are there some traits you can identify that can help you resonate better with your audience? If so, what are they? Audience is highly related to brand attributes you need to keep in mind. What kind of a brand are you working with? Should there be a lot of personality in your choices? Can it be more subtle? After the purpose, audience, and brand, the other thing you need to think about is cost of licensing. So, what's the budget you're working with? It's important to think about this early on as it can be a very limiting factor. It can limit you to only free and open source fonts, and it's in no way a bad thing, but it does mean there's a lot less wiggle room when it comes to the options that are available to you. Once you have these questions answered, it's time to decide if you'll use one or more typefaces. A lot of beginners tend to use too many typefaces. It's entirely possible and more common than you think to design stellar UIs with just one typeface. You can create contrast and hierarchy with weights, colors, spacing, styling, and so much more, not just typefaces. Only introduce more than one typeface if the project requires it. For example, if there's an element of a brand that's hard to showcase with a legible typeface choice, it's smart to have one typeface for body text and other one for more stylized headings and accents. That brings me to another important point: legibility. As you're now aware, not all typefaces are made to be extremely legible. The more personality a typeface has, the less legible it becomes. At least one of your typefaces will, however, need to be highly legible. That's because most of the content on the interfaces we design is made to be read. Remember the examples we went over a few lessons ago? If we remove the text, what is left? It can be eye-opening to see how much of the UI is actually made of text. That's why typography matters. So, what makes a legible typeface? Legibility describes how easily can typefaces glyphs be identified as characters and words. Some typefaces are inherently more legible than others. Distinct shapes for a 1, a capital I, and lowercase l, or 0 and a capital O can be great places to start. Font size, font weight, color, and more also affect readability and legibility. Most legible typefaces don't call undue attention to themselves. Their main goal is to allow the users to read. They're restrained in their characteristics. They also often have large open counters, ample lowercase x heights, and character shapes that are obvious and easy to recognize. They're not excessively light nor bold. If serifs exist, they don't call attention to themselves. Double story A is often seen as more legible. Same rule applies to Gs. When choosing fonts, the purpose can influence what kind of features do you look for. Do you need old-style numerals? Are there going to be a lot of tables and data? If so, maybe you need support for tabular numerals. Are you looking for a serif or a sans serif typeface? Would you like the typeface to feel more humane or more geometric? How many weights do you need? Once you have listed all the attributes and requirements your typeface requires, it's time to narrow down your options to a few candidates. A great place to start is the Excellent UI Typefaces ebook and Notion table you have gained access to with this course. I prefer the Notion table as I can easily use the tags as filters to narrow down my search. It contains hundreds of free and paid options, and it includes the most popular typefaces for UI design. Even if you don't have a particular typeface, it can still help you identify some traits you can look for in your own collection. After you've narrowed down your options, it's time to test the typefaces. In the typography kickstart file, there is a template style board you can use to see the typeface in action. I use it all the time and it has saved me a ton of time. We just went over the most important things you need to think about when choosing typefaces. If it feels like a lot, don't worry. We prepared a simple PDF you can use to remind yourself to think about all relevant questions and attributes you can use to help choose the right typeface for your projects. In the final video of this module, you can see how I approach choosing typefaces based on a real prompt and how I would pair them.